So what do binder clips and little shot glasses have to do with lead nurturing? I'll tell you. The other day I was talking to a small business owner and we were talking about what it really means to have actual lead nurturing going on in your business. So let's say marketing or your website or your new lead magnet is getting some leads. Binder clips are the leads. Then you have sales. So they're ready. They're ready to talk to those contacts. And as marketing brings them forward, what can happen? Well, it's not that they kind of get missed, that some of them do get missed. All these customers that fell down, they're more likely to have scheduling issues or change their mind. Or they're not just looking at you, they're looking at the competition as well. So you kind of need to recognize that you're going to have some fallout. That happens. What about these guys that are left? And what about capturing more of these ones that fell? Wouldn't that be nice? Because did you know it's about 30% cheaper to keep the leads you have than to go and try to source new ones? And it's more effective. You're actually 50% more likely to close them because they're already in your ecosystem. So, what do? We take these leads. If we just leave them sitting, waiting for sales, is that really effective? When was the last time that you raised your hand for something and then just patiently waited to get called on? Nobody does that anymore because the customer is not just, even if they're really interested in buying, they're not just looking at you, they're savvy. They're doing their online research. Most B2B buyers are doing about 70% of their research online before they even talk to sales. So if they're here, they're highly at that consideration stage, but they're also considering the competition or other ways of doing it or inaction. So, what is lead nurturing? Lead nurturing is sending communications, it's reaching out, it's reinforcing the value. If your marketing message is what's brought them in, reinforce it. People need to hear things about 7 times for it to really sink in. But some of the biggest challenges that you're going to find is that while they're waiting, they're distracted. So you're still competing for their attention. And by the time they get to your sales team, is sales saying the same thing as what they're hearing from marketing? That's one of the biggest revenue gaps that I see. Typically speaking, buyers report about a 69% delta between what they see online and through your company's own website and what the sales team tells them. That's research from Gartner. So, what that tells us is there are many gaps in the information. And unfortunately, what this means for business is that's a trust gap. That means people aren't necessarily able to really fully trust the person on the sales side, or is it the marketing team that has it wrong? Think about it if you were dealing with a food allergy, or if your child had a food allergy like mine. If you found on the company website that there was something they're allergic to in the ingredients, and then you read the menu ingredients in the restaurant and things were not quite jiving, it's you're not necessarily going to just, oh, hopefully talk to the kitchen staff and hopefully they're right. And everyone kind of just says, well, things may contain. You're more likely to walk out because that is a critical thing, a danger that you can put in either yourself or your child. So think of it that way. If there's a big gap between what's listed in your marketing and what the sales team is telling them, then you are instantly losing trust. And it's more work for the sales team to bring them back to that level. Things will never be absolutely perfect. A lot of companies are working very hard on their marketing and they're working very hard with their sales teams. That's not to say they're doing bad work. It usually means there's a gap in field marketing, regional marketing, or channel marketing. I spent 6 years deep in that in my corporate career, and I can tell you that that role that really helps figure out is what becomes your face of marketing to sales and your voice of sales to marketing. You need that bridge. So if your company doesn't have that level of expertise, that is one of the main places that I'll help advise. and really help you streamline some processes, but also get better alignment between those two teams, which is an age-old problem. Anyway, my point is you're bringing in all these opportunities from marketing. You want to make sure there's a more careful handoff so that sales has the biggest opportunity and that they spend less of their time educating and more time closing. So when it comes to the end, they're not going to get them all. But if they got the majority, wouldn't that be better? That's what I call a revenue gap. So if you're leaving money on the table that you could capture more of, it's worth fixing. Reach out to me directly and we can have a look at your business and understand if there's a revenue gap worth fixing. If there is, great, let's fix it so you can capitalize on the next opportunity. If there's not, then you've uncovered a potential blind spot and you now have more clear vision. Either way, the smart ones get an inspection. And that's what an assessment really is.